Let's go to Danny Austin now in Calgary, who awaits. Maybe he's got an update. Danny Austin of the Calgary Sun, welcome back to the program, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. Definitely an interesting morning to be talking CFL news.
It is.
After our Raptors report, a lot to talk about, yeah.
Well, I don't. Do you have an update for us? I'm sure you get asked as much as I do. Do you have one?
I mean, it's been incredibly frustrating because there haven't been any updates, right? I can say that after Odell Willis sent out that tweet yesterday, I did contact a couple players to ask, hey, are you guys getting the same information? And unfortunately, they just said no. They have no information. So good on our ass for getting something out of what appears to be the Argos here. But the truth is, a couple weeks ago, I talked to some of a Stampeders staff member who told me he was 100% confident that there would be a season. I certainly don't think anyone feels that way now.
No, not at all. And the Arash thing got people talking, but so did Odell's. But has Odell ever played on a team that you covered, Danny? He was here in Saskatchewan for a while. And I said, I'm not getting my CFL news from Odell Willis. Love the guy, great player. I'll wait for the insiders. That was the first thing I thought when I saw that.
I sort of did the same. I didn't put. I mean, you know what? It's a player late at night tweeting something out, anything could be going on. I wanted to see more, so that's why I contacted other players, and they said they didn't have anything like that info. So
right, and there still isn't. But you sent out a tweet. Was it? I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before that the CFL is going to wait till 2021 to make an announcement on 2020. You were obviously saying that tongue in cheek, and I said to Clark, "Let's get Danny on." So what is your assessment? Because we haven't had you in the pandemic at all, Danny. What's your assessment of how this has been handled and where we're going?
I mean, I'm incredibly disappointed. I tried to stay optimistic. Honestly, until about a week ago, that tweet that I sent out was a sign of where I'm at right now. I think that this has gone on far too long without any communication. If I'm a fan, I'm incredibly frustrated. If I'm a player, I'm even more frustrated because my livelihood is tied to it. I tweeted out a little bit about Nate Hawley, who was obviously the most outstanding rookie. You know, he was supposed to go to arbitration in March to figure out whether he could go the NFL route. Hasn't gone to arbitration, is still just sitting here waiting. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, and it's August 15th. So when are we actually talking about a season happening in God bless Winnipeg, Manitoba? I love that city, but we're not playing over, you know, we're not having the Grey Cup on Christmas Day, I'll tell you that. So it's gone on too long. It's unbelievable that we're in this place. And I swear I tried to stay optimistic, but it's hard not to be cynical right now.
I know, and I've been following all your tweets, although I've seen your emotional ups and downs, just like everybody else. Like, everybody's kind of in the same boat. But have you been speaking to other CFL beat writers, by the way? Like, how are people filling their time?
I mean, a lot of us are in the news department right now. I was in news for a really long time, and now, fortunately, because I'm in Calgary, I'm doing quite a bit of just helping out with Flames coverage. But I want the CFL back, and I think that sometimes us in the media, we can get criticized for appearing too negative. The reason we're frustrated is because we want the league back. It just seems surreal that here we are in mid-August, and nobody knows if we have jobs in the fall covering the sport that we love. And I talk pretty much all the time. The guys you might imagine, the Jeff Hamiltons, the Tim Baines, the newspaper guys I talk to quite often. And I've been talking to the TSN people as well. And there's just a real sense of helplessness. And it seems so obvious that the league should be communicating with its most important, you know, stakeholders who are the fans more than they are. And I can't wrap my head around it. I'm hesitant to blame Randy Ambrosie as much as some other people. You know, I'd reached out to you. I thought you brought up, look, it's the owners making the final decisions here. But everyone involved, it's just gotten to be too much.
Hey, were you surprised, or maybe you knew ahead of time, that Calgary had put in a bid to be the hub city? Because I was, to be honest.
I was dumbfounded by it. I found out the way you guys did. I'll be honest with you. The weekend before, I considered, you know, giving the Stamps a call and asking, you know, if they were considering it, but it just felt like there was no way. Why would they do that? Our numbers are obviously significantly, or were at the time, quite different throughout the spring with COVID than they were in Winnipeg or Regina. So I just didn't think it was even a real possibility, but turns out I was wrong. I wasn't a great reporter on that one. We all have good days and bad days.
Well, did the Stamps say anything about it, by the way, or why they would be interested in having been the hub city?
Nothing. I reached out for comment. The truth is that report came out, and just a couple hours later, it was announced that Winnipeg was the hub city. Like, it was a very quick turnaround. So I reached out, and the Stampeders said, hey, can you wait a little while, and we'll comment later this afternoon. And then by the time that happened, Winnipeg had been announced, so it was a non-story.
Hey, anything else on the CFL before we move on to the Flames and what you're covering right now?
Yeah, I hate to disappoint you, Rob, but I don't have a ton. I think I'm waiting and seeing just like the rest of you. I'm not going to name players' names. I can tell you that there's a real – just guys don't understand what's happening right now, to be honest. They're so confused. Guys want to play. They want to know if they have to cross the border. And they just don't know. And I feel so bad for the players here. And I'm hesitant, as I said, to put this all on Randy Ambrosie. I think there are a lot of other people involved in all the decision-making happening here, and he's just sort of the figurehead. But it's just not right to be doing this to these guys in their early 20s who are trying to establish a career. And it really makes me sad and a little bit embarrassed for the league.
As a matter of fact, inhumane is the term that I've used in terms of not giving them any money. But John O'Flynn, one of our viewers in Vancouver, says, first time listening to Danny Austin, appreciate his honesty and assessment. So there you go, Danny. You can read his stuff in the Calgary Sun. But I got to ask you also what the Stampeders fans are saying, because I've long said this. We have, I believe, is a fun rivalry, myself in Calgary. But I've always said it is a fantastic CFL city. And even Huff said to me, Rod, our fans are just as passionate as your fans. We just don't have as many. But we love our fans, and they love the Stampeders. What are the fans saying out there?
I mean, look, Regina is such a special place to watch football. I don't always want to compare, but this is a great football market. I mean, tailgating outside of McMahon Stadium, I don't get to do it because I'm always working. But it's the best tailgate in the CFL, and it's a great time. And what I love about the fans here in Calgary is I don't know what they're like on Twitter, but you'll show up for a Riders game, and there's Riders fans having drinks at the barbecues with all the Stamps fans. It's a really fun, it's a rivalry, but it never crosses that line. It's always fun and respectful. I think that Stamps fans are frustrated. Let's be honest, it's a little bit different right now in a city where you do have an NHL team that's playing and that's active. So I don't think that at this particular moment, the CFL is missed in Calgary the way it would be certainly in Regina, in other areas of the country, even Edmonton, I guess, at this point. But people are upset. People miss it. I think that this was, I'll be honest, I thought this was going to be a fascinating CFL season, particularly in the West Division. I quietly know there was a lot of confidence about some of the moves that the Stampeders made, and they really thought that they were going to be competing and contending for the Grey Cup this year. So people just miss it. I mean, Labor Day would be coming up now in 2 weeks. It's the best time of the year here if you're a football fan.
I know, Dan. I know. And, I do have a lot of friends with the Stampeders, too, and they said, this is our rebuild, finishing second. You know what I mean? Like, that was a crappy year for them. They happened to host the Western semifinal. That's the expectations of the Calgary Stampeders. And trust me, I get it. It's funny you say the tailgating, by the way. You could actually go, Danny, to the tailgating and just wander into the game at kickoff. Just saying. But the other interesting thing, by the way, what the Stampeders fans are saying on Twitter, I don't know because I've blocked them all. It's funny. Winnipeg and Edmonton fans have written me on my other accounts, my recovery business, saying, Rod, can you unblock me? It's over. That's Edmonton and Winnipeg. Calgary, not getting those messages. But anyways, Flames. Flames. Is the city going nuts with that?
I think people are excited. I was out last night watching the game, and all the bars are, full. It does feel like playoff hockey. I'm going to be honest with you, even though there's no games in Calgary, obviously. And I think people really, there is a sense that the Flames getting Dallas in the first round of the possible matchups, that was the best matchup. So I think that there's a real optimism that this Flames team, whether or not they can win the Cup, can win a round or two. And, that's not something that's happened in this town for a long, long time. In fact, it's only happened once since 2004. So, yeah, people are excited. And I think that the way that this Flames team is built, what's interesting is you're seeing Matthew Tkachuk just emerge as the superstar on this team. And, people love Giordano. And there's a real connection to this group of players, which is nice to see. And it's fun to be a part of.
Wait, it's fun. So what's your hometown? You're not an original Calgary guy, are you? Or what's your backstory?
I'm born and raised downtown Toronto. Like I was a huge Argos fan. I always tell this story. I went to all the Grey Cups there. I'm one of those kids who actually thinks that the Argos have a shot of still working in Toronto. But my great uncle, a guy named David, went to visit him, no joke, on his deathbed. It was the last day, last time I saw him, and I walked in, and he asked me to go out back in the hall at the hospital and tell him the score of the Alouettes game. So I came from a real CFL family in Toronto. It's been a part of my life, despite where I'm born and raised.
Well, maybe you should be working back there now. But I also know a lot of the media covering them love the Argos out there too. But with Calgary, as a guy who went to college there, I got tons of friends and family in Calgary. I just think this whole rivalry thing's fun. It has been for me. But Lanny, Mike Vernon, now Iggy, that's a kind of a past era. I mean, they're heroes, but they're ready for some new heroes. Do you think Matthew Tkachuk could get into that realm, or do they need to win a Stanley Cup or do something first?
You got to at least make a cup final to be in that realm. I mean, yes. The short answer is yes. I think Matthew Tkachuk could get there. I think he could have a long career in Calgary, and he's getting better. I mean, his offensive numbers this year were great. He's so much more than just a pest. He's just an all-around fantastic hockey player, and I know people in other markets probably hate him, but that's why people in Calgary love him. The truth is you have to win, and what's not spoken about with this Flames organization is, there was that cup run in 2004, but the 90s were terrible. Most of the 2000s, I mean, they just didn't win a playoff series other than that run to the cup final. And the 2010s, they've only won one playoff series. So this is a hockey market that is just starved for a winner. And I think, you even win 2 rounds. You make it to the conference finals, and your name's going to be spoken and sung about here in Calgary for a really long time. The city just needs a winner. Cool.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Danny, thanks for all of this. Appreciate you, man. And here's hoping for good news, but let's keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Rod. Talk soon.
Danny Austin from the Calgary Sun joining us. Follow him on Twitter. He's got great takes on there.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.